Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Friday, May 29th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We're going to talk a little bit today about building virtual tabletop adventures, in particular utilizing a tower created by Dyson Logos back in 2019. I've opted to call this the Tower of Lost Nomads because one of our followers was here in the chat at the time that I was working on this a couple of weeks ago in preparation for Con of Champions. Con of Champions, by the way, I think a pretty big success. They were hoping sometime before the end of the year to raise $56,000 in anticipation of so many conventions canceling their physical conventions. They created Con of Champions, a virtual tabletop convention, and it went so well that they were able, up until that point, including some people supporting the tabletop events outside of Con of Champions, but they were able to raise $54,000 of the $56,000 they were looking to get by the end of the year. So, with just a couple of thousand more to go, they should be in pretty good shape. There are other conventions that are switching to virtual conventions, which means there are a few revenue streams that they probably would not have had if not for all of the cancellations. I know that GameholeCon has announced that they're canceling. Gen Con is canceled. I know GameholeCon intends to do some sort of a virtual convention which will be tied to tabletop events. Origins is already canceled. They're doing some sort of online thing, although I don't think it's with tabletop events. I looked into it and I had trouble figuring out exactly what was going on with that. Article Justicar, thanks for popping in today. See you in the stream chat over there. Good day. Good morning. GD morning. Goddamn morning. Is that what that? I don't know. I'm not in charge of salutations. I'm in charge of, I don't know what I'm in charge of. Anyway, here I want to check something out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like a 10-second lag between when I click on something and when it shows up on Twitch. Now, I have to continue to talk in regard to what I'm actually doing, because on the recording, that will appear, that will be tied to, that will be in sync with what I'm actually doing. However, when you hear me say something, it will seemingly be 10 seconds of lag before we get to when it shows up on Twitch, which is weird. So when I'm talking, as long as I'm not talking about what I'm up to, then everything works out just fine. However, just to take a look at what we did. So I had 3 different games going during Con of Champions, 3 different first edition games. Originally, they were scheduled as 3 hours each on Saturday at 11, 2, and 6, and they were meant to be a first level, third level, and fifth level game. And I had the same thing scheduled also on Monday, although they used the same assets, they were meant to be slightly different games. Hey, Carlos, how's it going, buddy? Twitch lag is, yeah, I hear you, man. There is, I guess OBS has a delay that you can set up purposefully, and I thought that I had that set up for like 3 seconds. I don't know if it's meant to be like a catch yourself, stop stuff from happening if stuff goes crazy left on you. I don't know. I don't know if it's meant to be like a cough button or a profanity filter or who knows. I don't really care. I don't really swear anyway, but I don't really care. But the the weird thing, XSplit, and it has the same thing. Yeah, yeah. So there's this built-in delay thing that you set up, but maybe I'll just set it to 0. If there's automatically a delay already, I don't want to compound it. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I've got to mess around with it and create a 30-second intro video to replace the old one. I made one a while ago, but it was when we were at 10:30 a.m. And now that we're at 9:30 a.m., I need a fresh one. And yeah, when I'm monkeying around with that, I can check out the delay and do that sort of thing when I'm not actually doing the show, I suppose. So these 3 events, first, third, and fifth level, 3 hours each on Saturday and also on Monday during Con of Champions, then became first, fifth, and fifth. I just didn't. The middle one, which was this Tower of Nomads, was set up originally to be a 3rd level, but I made it too tough, so I had 2 choices. I could water it down and make it more survivable for 3rd level NPCs or player characters, and it was a 5-person table. That's kind of my limit for online games. I guess I could go a little higher, but I like to do 8, 10 even around a regular face-to-face table. But I don't know. There's just too much over-talking and too many people vying for the same airspace when you don't have body language to help you navigate those waters like you do with a face-to-face game. It gets tough online. So 5's kind of my limit, at least now. Maybe that'll change someday. Anyway, 5 3rd levels were just not strong enough, really, to, in the testing of this that I was able to get into before Con of Champions, 2 weeks. So I just used the 5th level. I used the 5th level party, which had some 4th, 5th, fighter, thief, 5th level cleric, 5th level human, magic user, 5th level fighter, 5th level human thief. So I was using these. I had another game where I had more of a mix of races for the 6 o'clock one. That's a little different, but the levels skew a little differently. This worked out pretty well. The pages I had set up for this, so you can see the full maps here, right? And this was the original, which I kept there for reference as I needed it. Again, Dyson logos. If you're not supporting them on Patreon, you should be. Guy does such great work. He just churns it out. I've been a Patreon supporter of his for I think I'm going on 5 years now. And you cap it. I do $5 a map per month, but I'm looking for the commercial stuff, right? Which he comes up with usually a couple, sometimes just 1, sometimes 3. But I just cap it. I say I cap it at $10 a month. I figure that makes me a good Patreon. If he's got a couple of thousand guys like me helping him out, and I know he doesn't, but boy, wouldn't that be great for him, huh? He'd be doing fantastic. Um, he needs more, so help him out. Throw him a buck, a couple bucks, whatever. Something per map, or just a straight up certain amount. So much good work. Ashran Spire, I changed the name, you saw that. Here is the original configuration. Now I like this side view, right? And it's, I can't turn that. So it is what it is. But see how these stick up? So I decided we're coming at it from the north in the game I'm running. But I turned the individual maps. Also, that's on the map level. Remember, you got a map level, object and tokens level, and a GM level. Currently, the copies of the characters are back on the GM level. What I also have, of course, when I set the game up and got it ready to go, is I take all of the monsters, creatures, whatever, and they're on the GM's level. But they're also in place so that when the game starts, I can when they go and knock on this door or knock it down, you can just move those tokens up to that level, up to that layer. When the player characters, get to the point that they're here, then you just change to this map. I don't know. Not everybody knows how this works. You also have to move the player banner, pennant, I don't know, pennant, over to that map, and then the players can then see it, right? You can individually, because let's say there's one of these name bars at the bottom for all of the players, and you can just take that and move it. And I'll just show you with mine. It doesn't matter for the GM. The GM can see everything. But you can move individual players off to other bars. And once they're there, they're there. And then you can jump them back into with the players, of course, and then everything's together. So I don't know what that did necessarily, because I don't think you're supposed to be able to do that with the GM thing. But there you go. Anyway, the GM can always look at anything. The GM can change pages, and that's something that others can't do. Now, what else I did, let's see. Oops, go into this layer. Halfling Fighter Thief. We'll get rid of that. This guy is gone. These are player characters here. There is this boar, which we'll leave there. And we'll move to the GM's layer. In case we want to run this later. Essentially, what we created was a first level where there was an ogre and a bunch of orcs guarding the outer area. They were not allowed inside by the big bad who's in charge of this. The big bad on level 2 keeps a boar chained up and has run of this area outside of his quote-unquote bedroom. This boar, which doesn't kill him, can gore anything else that comes through there. Acts as a watchdog, essentially. On the third level, we've got this wizard. That guy was a character, but we've got them all over there. This wizard is the big bad. He's in charge. He's got a staff of paralyzation. There is a mirror here. There are mirrors behind all of these little curtains that go around the whole room. He's got a bell cord over here that he can pull. And he's able to pull back the curtains on all the mirrors and use the mirrors as a way of reflecting his staff's charges at anyone at any place in the tower with multiple reflections so that he can stay behind, for instance, behind one of the pillars or a stairway or safe, yet still attack with his mirror mage. Yeah, right? That's the idea. Let's see. I'm catching up over here for a second. It's the same thing. Yeah, I'm doing 7 in my current module playtest. It's a struggle. 5 is good. Oh, a number of characters or number of players. Yep. He's still the gold standard for sure. Who's still the gold standard for sure? I missed what that was in response to. Sorry. Who's the gold standard? Why don't you post a name there? For sure, my Patreon. Oh, Dyson. Of course he is. Yes. My patron does okay, but his is amazing. Yeah, he does all right with his. Maybe the biggest thing that I'm seeing here, Mark, is that 1E seems to have native roll 20 for support. Yeah, Dyson. Yep, you meant Dyson. I caught up there. Yeah, 1E. Okay, older editions of Dungeons and Dragons kind of get lumped into a sort of a. I think they fall into that trap of calling everything from the little 3 little booklets through all the basic various very different from each other if you really look at them basic editions, the starter box, which was the first basic, the homes, right, and then the various Moldve and Menser and all that other stuff. I think they lump all of that under the quote-unquote classic D&D title, which I've always found kind of erroneous. It really doesn't address the various nuances, and certainly if you try to use one character sheet from one of those to another, there are going to be some problems. Not perfect, anyway. First edition has a character sheet on Roll20, but then parenthetically they have second edition lumped in with first edition as if the two are interchangeable, and they're certainly not. So, yeah, there is, ultimately, as long as you can roll any kind of dice, which you can, and you see that stack of icons over on the left, the second from the bottom, and this is the GM's view, so I've got more icons than a player view will have. You'll see there's a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20, D100, and then fudge dice. And also you can roll 2D4, 3D4, 4D4, 5D4, and then there's this whole idea of other, not completely sure what these are up top. There's an advanced dice roller that you can bring up, but you can roll 5 percentile dice, and I'll show you over here. There you go, and it'll add them all up too. So I can roll 4d6 straight together, or just do 3d6, 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 3d6. Worst character ever. Well, I got a 14 in charisma, so at least he can tell people he's a good character. Anyway, there are ways of doing things. Notice you can roll multiples of a die with this advanced die roller. You can do plus and minus to a die roll. Also, once you've rolled a bunch of times, it will keep your last 10 attempts. So you can go back here. So if I roll a 1d20 plus 2, if I want to keep rolling that as my attack roll, and let's say I'm using a weapon that does 2d6 and I have a strength plus 1 bonus, I can do that. So I can do 2d6 plus 1. So I can constantly roll my to hit and damage, for instance, just by hitting these re-rolls in the last 10 rolls thing, right? These are just straight up 1 die, 1d8, 1d9. There's no 1d100. I never noticed that wasn't up there. Okay, you get 2d10. 57. There's my percentage right there. Anyway, that's the advanced die roller. But it's just as easy to go over here, roll a d20, roll a d10, so on and so forth. Easy to do. It's a good little use. So this was the adventure. Not much to it, right? Oh, up top, I also had, I'm going to get rid of this guy. This is not the right creature, obviously, but this is what I'm using. It's a giant owl. That's what it is. There you go. So this was just sitting up there nesting by the top. The owl and the boar are the two creatures that the Paralyzation Mirror Mage trusts as sentries. Anybody trying to come in from the top has to deal with the wise old owl. Anybody coming up through the tower, if they make it to the second level, have to deal with this boar in close quarters. Tough to do. First level, you can't even get into the place without dealing with the orcs and the ogre. There's also 2 heavy doors here with murder holes, which will slow you down. But there's nothing, at least in this scenario, I was not having anything man these. Everybody expects when you get in through this way. I've dealt with orcs. I've dealt with this ogre. I've fought in these close quarters. We've taken some hits. We managed to dispatch them. Now we deal with this door. And then we see these murder holes and another heavy door on the far side of it. We're not squeezing in here and just taking a bunch of shots. So they kind of delay themselves when they see this and get scared and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of fun. It's the non-challenge that they waste as much time on as they want. If they make it through there, there's really nothing on this lower level. The mage doesn't bother going down there. Why should he? He doesn't need to. They go up the stairs. When they get up the stairs, they're dealing with the boar somewhere in here. Here's his bedroom and a little secret place. I think in the game on Monday, they had sent the thief up and climbed up the tower, and he got a look in here. And all I did was, quite easily, take the freehand tool, color it in black, and blocked out what couldn't be seen. Easy enough to do, right? Go back down to there. Down to there. Right? So from the outside you can see where the arrow slits are, and when he climbed up and took a peek in here, he was able to see what was going on in this little room, which was nothing. These slits were described as so narrow that only an unarmored halfling might be able to squeeze in. Maybe an unarmored elf, but wouldn't matter for this group because this group consisted of a halfling, fighter, thief, and then 4 humans. But for a different group, it's important to note that difficult to slip in here. Anyway, part of what makes this possible, these are all on the object layer. So once you go back to the select tool, you can get rid of any one of these at any given time. You can adjust how big they are. You can move them around so that different portions can be seen. Right? So we know that that's there. We can move this over. We can move this over. We can see where the door is. So if you go through this door, then you can see this. It's kind of like reverse. Now you can see the boar because the boar is down on the GM layer, which you have to select to be able to move the boar. But nobody who's playing can see that the boar's in this other section over here until they go in and you bring it up from the GM layer to the object layer. Then at that point, and you do so by going to the GM layer, selecting it, and then moving it from one layer to another. You can move it down to the map layer. That's obviously where the tower portion is, and that you don't accidentally move because it's on its own layer. It also goes behind the grid, so that, and the grid is ostensibly on the map layer, and that way none of that stuff gets moved around when you're moving around tokens. You can't accidentally select it unless you yourself up here go to the map layer, and then you can select that. But you don't want to do that anyway. So this is sort of a reverse dynamic lighting, right? Essentially you're just blotching stuff out so that it can be seen by the players based on where they are, because you definitely want them to be able to see what they can see. And you can edge it around, move it around and stuff, right? All the little pieces. Can edge that over if I want to hide everything except the arrow slit. So this is the approach I use to dealing with these maps. The point being that when they approach this tower, they can see what it looks like. They can see where the arrow slits are. They can see the standing stones on top. They can see this jutting out to the side. When they get up to this tower and they start climbing it and stuff, they should be able to know where these arrow slits are. Should be able to see everything else. What they can't see is the interior, so you have to have a way of blocking that stuff. You don't want a big old dynamic lighting thing, because it doesn't matter if the halfling has a torch. They've seen, even from a distance, the outside of the tower. They know certain features of it, and they have to be able to make their plans based off of their knowledge. So they've got to be able to see all that stuff. Anyway, that's the way I ran it. Those are the creatures that are involved in it. This was the adventure that we played. Oh, I did have a sort of beginning adventure on the way to the tower, a beginning encounter, right? Which was, we'll take those hits out of there. They managed to kill these things. 3 big ogres, which was a tough encounter. I mean, they got a fireball with that wizard, so, you know, if they can get a couple of them, if they can patiently wait and get a couple of them together, there's no reason why they can't wipe these guys out fairly quickly. And truth is, they did. However, you've got to remember that in a game where you've got 3 hours to do everything you need to do, right? Then you've got to make sure you're moving fairly quickly. And if you take one of your, let's go up here. If you take 20 minutes out of your 3 hours, well, it might not be a good use of your time. The first group on Saturday opted to just lay low and avoid the ogres. It took all of 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops of game time. And that might have been the best plan, because then they, in short order, were at the tower and making that plan. The group on Monday not only fought these 3 ogres, but also spent a lot of time reconnoitering the tower, and then got to get some sleep. There you go, Carl. Thanks, man. Have a good show. Is it later tonight? Oh, it's this weekend for sure. So have a good one. The group then finished up. They did not manage to get through the entire scenario. The thief wound up going up to the tower, and well, that wasn't necessarily a bad plan. It was kind of like this divided party thing, and it took a lot of time, and they wound up running out of time, which was a shame. Nevertheless, they had fun doing it, and that's all that's important. So, I'm going to say that we're at the just over the 30-minute mark. So we're going to shut this down for the day. And I'll just throw this back up over here in case we want to mess with it in a little bit. And we will take a quick look at the schedule for the rest of the week, which includes tomorrow a DM cartoon review. Tomorrow we're going to start off with the new, for us, the new. We went through 9 of the 27 episodes of the Dungeons and Dragons animated series. That was the first disc. Since we're between discs, we're going to switch. We're going to check out Conan the Adventurer, Season 1. There's 13 episodes of that. So we're going to be doing that for a little while. Have some fun with those. Sunday, Rules Retrospective. We're about halfway through David M. Prada's version 2.2 of his Initiative and Combat Tracker or Combat Tables, Combat Rules for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is to say first edition, because it only goes through sources that are up through 1986, which is the Wilderness Survival Guide. Everything else is Dragon Magazine stuff, and of course the core books and some Unearthed Arcana source stuff. Monday, weekly news and the giveaway. We'll be talking on Monday quite a bit about Ray Harryhausen. We're coming up on what would have been his 100th birthday. He passed away at 92. Big influence on a lot of gamers. I know for me, those fighting skeletons, his stop motion techniques was in so many movies. Jason and the Argonauts, all the Sinbad movies, Clash of the Titans, Mysterious Island, Mighty Joe Young, so many other things. We'll talk about that. That's coming up on June 29th, Harryhausen Day. Mark your calendars. Tuesday, Cartography and World Building. Wednesday, Campaign Discussion, featuring some more stuff from my own setting of Grimwald. Thursday, Crafting, Painting, Terrain, Miniatures, hopefully we're going to finish up those catapults. I've got some ballistas in the wings as well as some doors. We're doing simpler things as we get this whole thing started. We'll get into nicer miniatures later, but I'm a kind of guy who just slaps paint on, so never look to me for any super fine tips. But I have fun doing it, and I like miniatures, and I like using them in my games. Then back to Friday for more virtual tabletop adventure stuff. Probably going to be looking at that crazy Jonathan Bingham map next Friday. I've been working on some stuff for that. Also, I need to spend some time with the stuff that's going to be going in the OS Zine. OSZINE. OS Zine. Old school zine. That I'm working on. There's a map I got from my buddy Heath. And that's going to be the basis of an adventure, along with another map from Dyson Logos. Basis for an adventure called Tunneling Down Under. Rating? Kevin Fannin, what's going on? Rating me with a Kefa Paint Studios Party of 12. What's going on, everybody? The real Doom Song is here. Nice. Yo, so funny. That's so true. Support artists. Right on, man. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Hashtag support artists. I was just mentioning June 29th, Harryhausen Day. I mentioned that over on your thing, too. There's an artist who, God, love him. Ray Harryhausen. What a fantastic guy. I started up a event on Facebook. Look for it if you're over there. Harryhausen Day, June 29th. Here are some of his models that he used in his stop motion animation. There's one of those sword fighting skeletons, Mighty Joe Young, the figurehead off of the ship, masthead. Is that what they call it? What do they call that? That wooden thing off the bow that loosened itself and became a creature. Oh, of course, the troglodyte and the Medusa, that crazy Gorgon from Clash of the Titans, the owl, Meepo the owl, all sorts of, oh yeah, the two-headed wolf, all sorts of crazy creatures that he created. And Calabos, there you go, right on. So yeah, if you want to honor Harryhausen, it's not an event you have to go to. You just, wherever you are. That weekend, I'll probably start on Friday and do a series of his movies that take me through Monday. Watch one or two movies every day. I've got a whole collection of his movies to watch. And so much influence on me as an imaginative person, as a creative person, as a gamer. Absolutely. Thanks for the raid, though, Kefa. Appreciate it. Anybody who popped in on this raid, if you're not already following the channel, please do. Be sure to chime in, and let me tell you why. If you are a follower of the channel and you chime in during a live stream, as Kefa has here, as Yo So Funny, as the real Doomsong has, you're automatically added to a weekly drawing. Let's see, what are we at here? Here we go. It is Friday, so we got a whole bunch on here already. Let's see. Yo So Funny, let me get you on there. And you know what? Every Monday, we announce the winner of the weekly drawing. This week, what is in the offing? The real Doomsong, I think already a follower and also a friend. Thank you. This week, a copy of the DVD of the 13th Warrior. Antonio Banderas movie, another classic for those of us who are gamers. Fann. I got it there. All right. I've got all three of you in there. Anybody else who came over on the raid, do yourself a favor. All you got to do, follow the channel, and then just post up. Post a hello. You don't have to say anything fancy. And we'll get you in on that free giveaway that we do each week. Thank you very much. The book, Eaters of the Dead, absolutely. Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton. The gauntlet got thrown down. Make Beowulf interesting. He took a couple different stories from back in the day. The story of this Middle Eastern dude who was sent north by his from his caliphate by his sultan, who suspected that he'd been messing around with one of his wives. Decided, you know what? Go be an ambassador somewhere else. Sent him north. Went up to Rusland. Met Vikings, obviously. And his tale, his journal, is actually a real-world thing. And that was part of the inspiration for the 13th Warrior, Eaters of the Dead. And then, of course, the whole saga from there forward is a turn on Beowulf. You got Beowulf's mother. You've got the fire worm, right? The three parts of Beowulf. You got Grendel, who's the leader. You've got Beowulf's mother. And you've got the dragon, are the three different parts to Beowulf. And, of course, he works those into the story through the legendary fireworm, which is just the tribe coming down, all bearing torches, weaving their way down the mountain to attack. And, of course, the leader of is really your Grendel. And, of course, the mother, the poison-wielding mother, is the mother in the earth. And Antonio Banderas, can't go wrong there. A lot of great actors came out of that, or were in that, and also did other things later. If you're a Anglophile when it comes to your television watching, you'll have seen any number of them in other things. Anyway, I'm way over time at this point. Usually we keep it at a half hour, and we're somewhere around 45 minutes at this point. So let me just wind her down. I was winding it down when you guys rated me. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. This has been the OK Grognard Show. If you are catching it on Twitch, please do follow the channel and chime in during the stream chat to be added to our free weekly giveaway. If you're catching this on YouTube, please do subscribe. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you feel that's what we deserve for bringing you this free entertainment. Guilt trip, there you go. Doesn't really matter. A plus, a thumbs up, and a thumb down actually count the same in the algorithms for YouTube. It's just showing interest. But it's also feedback for us. So if we get a lot of thumbs down, we'll know we got to correct our course, right? Anywho, that's the way to do it. Tomorrow, a DM review of the first episode of Conan the Adventurer cartoon from back in, I think, 86. We'll have all that information tomorrow. See you then at 9:30. We're here every day. Take care, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.